Hi Perelle, amazing, you're doing excellently. Really, this is great. This really is great. What a great portfolio you just uploaded. Big pat on the back. Okay, let's jump in. So you redid the panning picture and you nailed it. That is an excellent panning picture. That's like a 1 in 10 kind of shot at least. So you did really well done. Big pat on the back. That is a really good panning picture. Got like that sharp line over there. Everything else is blurry. Nice one. Bet you're happy that you got that. Okay, let's jump it in. You're in class 4, so we're now in the world of depth of field. Okay, this is a wonderful part of photography. Depth of field is it's just such a massive part of photography. So let's just look at what you're doing. You're at 1.8. I really appreciate that you've got the equipment that I told you to get, and you're in a good place. You've got this 1.8 lens, so you get this awesome whacked out shallow depth of field. You get this huge bokeh. See these balls? That's called bokeh that you learned about. And the Glenmorangie bottle, the Glenmorangie bottle in the background is completely blurred out. It's not completely sharp. I'm wondering, is that maybe you've got some schmutz on your lens? It could be that you need to clean your lens. I'm not. Oh no. Okay, look. Your depth of field is so shallow that you've focused over here, and this part of the bottle is actually closer to you. You with me? So you can see that this line over here is actually sharp, and over here it's sharp, but this is a little closer, so it's not sharp. But anyway, this is at your widest aperture at 1.8, and you can see you've completely smashed out the background. Excellent. Okay, at f8, you followed the instructions again. This is great. Now we can see the whole bottle is pin sharp. Very good indeed. At a 60th of a second, which is very good. That means you're holding the camera still. Excellent. And now the problem is you're at an 1/8 of a second and you're holding the camera, which is absolutely forbidden. Okay, I'll let you get away with it in this one, but you are not allowed to hold the camera at 1/8 of a second. You have to have the camera down or on a tripod or something like that. But you've done really well. You've really done very well. So the problem is you can't see that it's sharp here because there's a little bit of camera shake. But I think you've understood. I think you've understood the exercise. The lower the number, the wider the hole, the more light, but also the shallower the depth of field. The higher the number, the smaller the hole, the less light, and also the longer the depth of field. Okay, very good. Okay, let's jump in. This is head, quarter, and half. Very good. Excellent, you've done really well here. Okay, so we've learned, I'm sure you remember that we learned that the eyes always need to go above center because our eye is moving downwards when we have a picture of a face. So how comes this picture works? This is a balanced picture, and the answer is because of all this craziness on her hair. Well, no, I don't want to say that, that's not nice. But because of her hairband that is very, as we said while I was growing up, Larry, very loud, that balances, that gives us a tension over here. So even though our eyes are moving downwards, it's balanced by this heavy tension up here, which means we have a very balanced image. You've cropped in very closely. You are focused on the eyes. You're at a 100th of a second. Let's just make sure you're focused. The truth is, you just missed the focus on the eyes, and you hear her eyebrows. But I think you get away with that anyway. Good. Okay, so now here, you didn't hold the camera steady. You did not hold the camera steady. You've cropped in quite nicely. The truth is you could crop in a little bit tighter. The truth is you can't crop in too much tighter. There you go. That's probably the right crop. But you can see at 100th of a second, you couldn't quite hold the camera steady. You could have done if you had paid attention to it. That's the problem. Remember we learned in depth of in the shutter speed class that the bench really where you're trying to get to is around 200, 250th of a second. Lower than that, you really need to be conscious. So this is just a perfect example of where you weren't perfectly conscious, because for sure the fact that you took this picture at an 1/8 of a second, and or even better example is this was a 60th of a second and it's pin sharp. Okay, this picture, 100th of a second, should for sure be sharp. However, we know that if you're not completely conscious, you will not be able to hold the camera steady. Okay, very good. And now here you are conscious and the picture is sharp. You are now taking really good photography. You should be proud of yourself. This is great. A half portrait. You really good, good sense of space. Nicely posed. Beautifully cropped in. Excellent, excellent, Perelle, excellent. Okay, barrel distortion. You cannot get barrel distortion with a 50mm lens. You just can't do it. Doesn't work. So, I mean, it's a cute picture. 60th of a second, you can see though, also does not cut the movement. You cannot hold. You cannot keep. Number one, it's very difficult to hold the camera steady with a 60th of a second. But even more so, if your subject is moving in any way, shape, or form, it's basically impossible to freeze any action at a 60th of a second. Okay, let's go into your photo shoot. Okay, so you're class 4 now. What are you shooting in? You're shooting in manual. Very good. Okay. So first things first, this is a lovely picture. There's a couple of things that I would say to help you out here. You've like done it as a panoramic, like long ways. It's like a long skinny picture, which is a bit weird. Okay, that's not really the regular thing that we do. Now the real issue in this picture, even though your stats are absolutely perfect, it may be better to be at 200 ISO and at 500th of a second, but either way, you've got a sharp image. Nearly, it's basically sharp. It would definitely be better to be at 200 ISO and give yourself a little bit more shutter speed. The issue here is that your subject is leaning against the tree. Now, I use trees as props for the side, like for them to hold by the side or somewhere to put their hands, to put them with the tree in the background. Basically what's happening, because this is actually not very out of focus at all, it's quite sharp because it's so close to our subject, it becomes distracting. So we don't end up with a real strong separation between our subject and background, which drops the energy of the image. So here, it would have been better if he had moved around. I mean, this stuff would have been in the way, but let's just say he had moved around to the side and rested his hand on the tree just to pose himself, or even just gone away from the tree completely, and then you were using just this as a background instead of the tree being in the picture. That would have definitely added to the shot. Okay, but other than that, it's a nice shot. It's nicely posed. You've got a nice smile out of him. The exposure is excellent. Your stats are great. It's very good. It's good quality, intelligent photography. This is intelligent photography. I'm not sure if I would call it commercially viable in the sense that I will eventually. I would say this is commercially viable now that we've cropped in a little bit here. I think so. This crop here really makes sense. And now I think what you were doing before with leaving you wanted to leave the bottom of his shorts in there. However, with this crop here, now this line becomes the defining edge of our shape. You see? So it works like that. So I think that's a better crop. You're really getting there to commercially viable portrait photography. Okay, practice. We need more practice. Okay. Now I can see some interesting things on in Lightroom. Stats wise, stats are good. You're shooting aperture priority. The last picture you shot was in manual, so I'm wondering, that's a little interesting. This was taken 5 days earlier. Okay, either way, you've done a lot of sharpening. I'm not sure really what's gone on here. You've cropped in quite a lot. It's not a particularly successful picture in my opinion. I don't know what all this wackiness over here, if you've sharpened it or something. I'm not sure exactly what's gone on. You've definitely done some kind of processing that hasn't really worked so well. For black and white, nearly always we are trying to get a much stronger contrast. Okay, black and white to keep the word in your mind, like dynamic, punchy or vibrant or you know, saying like energy. Black and white is usually not always, but nearly always, you're trying to energize a picture and to add contrast. Basically, it's built on contrast, on heavy lines and stuff. So here the image is just generally a little bit flat. The composition is a little bit awkward. We're not really in the center. We're not on the third. We're not in the center. There isn't really much relationship to the third. I think we're going to move on because there's some other pictures that I saw that look excellent. So I'm not so into this shot. Okay. Now this is nicely composed. This is nicer. This is a nicer picture. But I mean, they're both similar shots. They're shot at. So stats wise, the reason I shouldn't really. Oh, you're in now program. So it's interesting. You're in aperture priority and program, and you're in manual as well. So you're bouncing around. That's fine. That's fine. You can bounce around at the beginning, but you'll eventually settle into one of them. As a silhouette, this is beautiful. Stats wise, I'm going to actually leave the stats. I'm realizing now that this is a little. This is going to be for the next class that you're going to learn exactly how everything fits together. The 5th class is where the whole thing, everything that you've done until now, it all comes together, and you're going to go like, oh wow, okay, I understand. Okay, so that's coming up. This is beautiful. This is beautifully balanced. You've edited it beautifully. Very sensitive edit. You've got the shutter speed is great, and in this case, I love the long depth of field. You're at f10, which means you've got a lot of detail in the sea here. Adds a lot of energy. I prefer it to this. I would probably crop this picture something more like this. Just get rid of that. Yeah, I would go with that. Maybe a little bit more. Let's get me out of the way. I think I'd probably go with a crop like that. But this is excellent. This is a great shot. I'd put this on our student gallery. Love it. Pat on the back. Nice one, Perelle. Okay. Also cute. But please, what I want you to do is I want you to stay with pictures like this, okay? As in, I want you to be practicing this kind of thing is fine, and you should be doing it without any question. But I want you, the real skill that you need to build that's going to help all of this kind of stuff is the classic portraiture, which means concentrating on posing, selecting correct backgrounds, getting the right depth of field, getting separation between background, foreground, etc., etc., finding the light, tasting the light, seeing how the light's coming into the shot, etc., etc. So try and work more on that than opposed to like jumping up and down pictures and running and stuff like that. You should be doing that, but the pictures that I want to see, what I'm going to really be able to help you move forward is in the pictures, the classical portraiture, which means posing 2 people, posing 1 person, the interactions between 2 people, etc. But this kind of stuff, keep doing it and enjoy it. But let me see the more classical things also. Okay, so because here there's a little too much, I think, of the, I would call it like the funky stuff, which again, like I said, is super important, but I want to help you more in the classical side of things. Okay, let's take this picture into Lightroom. Okay, we'll save the edit in Picasa, and we will open now in Lightroom. And I think we are going to turn this into a black and white picture. 1 second. Okay, develop. Okay, so first things first, let's black and white. Now I actually want to, let's see what happens if we actually darken the girls here. 1 second, let's drop this down. I'm going to drop the exposure. Okay, and I want to just see if what's going to happen. I thought it might do that. If we turn it into a real silhouette, yeah, see, as we turn it into a real silhouette, this shape, we actually lose it. We lose the Unless, see, this works here, but this area here has really disintegrated into just a black blob. So cropping closer, there we go, that's nice. Now I think I'm going to use my clarity tool. I'm going to, so not my clarity, my brush with clarity, and we are going to make this water go crazy. Yeah, exactly like that. Lots of energy here. Wow, I love the clarity brush. I love clarity in all kinds of senses. Okay, I don't think we're going to do much more to that. Let's just have a look where we went from to. See, I'm not sure about this brush here. Let's just get rid of this a second. We can just move it out of the way for a second. You know what? Let's delete this. And I think, one second, where did our other brush go? Yeah, I think in this case we'd leave it like this, because this energy here actually really helps. This is nice. The black energy that we created before, do you see what I'm saying? That is tastier. That tastes better, this interaction here with these lines, than that black blob. Even though this works a bit better, yeah, this adds. So I think I'd be like that. We just basically we turned it black and white, and we added some energy into the waves, and you've really come out with a great shot. Okay, Perelle, that is excellent. I'm very impressed, and I'm much looking forward to seeing what you do for us next week. Okay, all the best.